body slammed him right to the ground. I'm going to leave him alone from now on. You can pick on him.
I'll tell you, he was refreshingly candid in an interview that Kevin Meininger and Danny Regan set up prior to the game ending last night, even prior to the post-game show. And it was fascinating listening to Joe West as you look at Sid Fernandez taking off the chains. I can't understand how players can go on the field and play with those chains around their neck. Did you do it?
Well, I'll tell you, if you have a brawl like you saw last night, if you did see it, somebody grabbed one of those chains, you could have a little problem with that.
But here they come. A lot of people coming in here to Shea Stadium. Speaking of that brawl, it did take its toll on a couple of Mets. Kevin McReynolds, the bad back now, and Dwight Gooden with his hand wrapped prior to the game, throwing with Mel Stoudemire. An excellent interview by Rusty Staub talking about that brawl. Here's Jerome Walton. He hits a high fly ball on the first pitch to Darryl Boston. Boston drifting back and makes the grab. One down.
Well, Walton, after being the Rookie of the Year last year with a very fine average of 293, hitting 272 so far this year with only one home run. He got that a couple of days ago. His only home run of the season.
And the batter now, Ryan Sandberg. Sandberg having quite a season, batting .309, 26 home runs, 65 RBIs. He was playing T-ball prior to the All-Star break.
Just tearing it up. He was leading in everything. Batting average outside of Dykstra, the only one hitting a little bit better than home runs, and just really having a great start.
There's a strike, 0-1. One man down. We're in the top of the first inning. As you can see, he's tied for the National League lead with 26 home runs. Ryan Sandberg. There's a strike and a curveball, 0-2.
In the month of June, Sandberg hit .377, scored 31 runs, had 14 home runs, drove in 25 in 30 games.
And the 0-2 pitch. He drives the ball in the gap, left center field. Boston in pursuit, unable to make the play. Ball hits off the wall. Sandberg cruising into second base and rounding the bag, but hanging on with a double.
Well, this is one of those high fastballs we were talking about. Sandberg with 26 home runs and 65 runs batted in. Picks up his 23rd double, and this hits the base of the fence.
First baseman, number
and
17.
Boston plays it off perfectly, and Sandberg gone.
So Sandberg on second base. The batter now, Mark Grace. Grace with an 18-game hitting streak. Right now he's batting .299. 3 home runs, 43 RBIs, and he takes a strike.
He had a hitting streak of 15 straight games earlier this year, and it was stopped by the Mets in the doubleheader when he went 0 for 10.
He can hit you some doubles. He's got 21. It's a tough pitch on the left-hander. 0-2.
In the 18-game hitting streak, he's hit .451, so he has really been red hot. He's raised his average from .267 to .299. Right here, a good pitch by Sid Fernandez as he whips that fastball through right in the strike zone.
0-2 on Grace. Up high, 1-2. Looks like we're going to get this ball game in. It's clearing up here in Flushing, New York. Second game of the series tomorrow night. Final game, Banner Day, Emerson Banner Day here Sunday. Game time 3:05. And the 1-2 pitch is fouled down the left field line and out of play.
Last year, Grace hit .314 with 13 home runs. One of them a big game winner off Randy Myers when Myers was pitching with the Mets. Said it's the only home run he ever hit in his life to win a ball game in the last at bat, including Little League.
Little League could be tough. He's right. Sandberg leading off second base. And the 1-2 pitch is a hook. Strike 3, and Mark Gray said, nice pitch. No argument. 2 down.
Well, if you ever want to see a jelly leg, this is it right here. He just freezes completely as that front leg breaks down.
Great description.
What's a front leg? Just jelly leg right there.
And you're mad when you do it. You want to be a man about it, but when someone throws you a pitch like that,
you doff your cap and say, good pitch.
That's right. He's not happy. Looking for his hat. But anyways, Andre Dawson, the batter with 2 men down. Dawson, what a year. 336, 21 dingers, and 71 ribbies. Takes the hook. Ball 1. Dawson has reached a 20-homer mark for the 6th straight season and for the 11th time in his career. He holds most of the offensive records in Montreal. One 0 pitch. Swung and a missed, 1-1. Joe McIlvaine tells a great story about Andre Dawson. When Joe was scouting for the Baltimore Orioles, he traveled to Florida. There was a kid down there the Mets eventually drafted. Joe was not working for the Mets at the time. Catcher Butch Benton. They ended up drafting him number 1, but while Joe was taking a cab to the ballpark to watch the catcher catch, the cab driver said, hey, the best player we have down here is over at Florida A&M. He was talking about Andre Dawson. The cab driver should have been a scout. Swung at and missed, 1-2. See, those cab drivers know what's going on.
They know everything.
They just can't tell you because none of them speak English.
That's the only problem. Joe, see, Joe had a B because he can speak Spanish.
Oh, Joe's fluent. You must have studied a little Spanish in your day.
I did.
Are you good in it?
Took 2 years of Spanish in high school. I can say hello and goodbye. That's about it.
And the 1-2 pitch to Dawson. Fouled back. I remember a little Spanish teacher in high school telling me, you better pay attention because someday you're going to need to know Spanish. And you know, first game in pro ball, I was catching a guy from Cuba. I went out and I started talking to him. The shortstop came in, said, you're wasting your time. He doesn't speak English. I thought this guy was listening to me. And there's Howard Johnson looking in for the sign from the catcher. 1-2 on Dawson. Breaking ball popped up weakly to the right side. Jeffrey's going back. Strawberry coming in. Jeffrey's making the play. And he's hurt. He made contact with Strawberry. And that'll do it for the Cubs. We'll find out about Jeffries when we come back. We've played a half inning, no score, the Cubs and the Mets.
9-9 record. He's won his last 5 decisions. An earned run average of 3.64. His 24th game start. And he has a good ratio of strikeouts to walks.
And his first pitch to Darryl Boston. It's a ball. I thought it was a strike.
Good sinking fastball. Looked very good.
Maddox coming on strong for the Cubs. One of the reasons they have the best record in the National League after the All-Star break. That's a cue shot right there. A lot of spin on that ball. Whoa, when Dunston throws a bullet to first base. Mark Grace has admitted that's not a pleasant sight when you see Dunston grabbing that ball and rearing back.
I don't think there's any contest that he has the best throwing arm for a shortstop in the National League. I don't know about the American League, but he can gun it. Here it is on the replay. He knows he's got the arm, so he takes his time, takes that little hop, step, and jump, and guns it over to first. Grace has to move out and catch that thing.
Pleasure to watch a guy with an arm like that. Batter now, Dave Magid, and he takes a strike, 0-1. I wonder if there was one guy that had the greatest arm in the history of baseball for accuracy, velocity. How about Nolan Ryan?
Not for accuracy. He's walked more batters than anybody in the history of the game.
Okay, get him out of here. Down low, 1-1. How about an infielder and an outfielder? I'd put Dunston up against anybody.
I don't think anybody can throw any harder than he can playing shortstop. They say Aparicio had an arm like that.
Yeah, Davey Johnson used to talk about Aparicio's arm. 1-1 on Magadan. There's a hook for a strike.
Don Zimmer tells an interesting story about the fact that the Cubs drafted Dunston ahead of Dwight Gooden. Gooden was taken 5th. Dunston was taken 1st in the draft. Zimmer says, why should they? Dunston's got a better arm than Gooden.
He throws harder. Dunston lining up that throw. There's the pitch inside. 1-2. I asked Sean Dunston one time about being drafted #1. I said, was there a lot of pressure on you? And he said to me, this is on a post-game show, he said, there's more pressure where I grew up. He said, there's no pressure being drafted #1. He said, born and brought up in the New York area. 2-2 pitch to Magadan. Down and in. 3-2. Saw a young guy who's doing a fine job scouting for the Mets. I'm at the ballpark tonight. Reggie Jackson, son of Al Jackson. Reggie now one of the advanced scouts for the New York Mets as you look at Don Zimmer. Interesting to watch a Zimmer managed ball game. Magadan putting the ball in play, but on the ground right at the sure man. Score at 4-3. Sandberg to Grace. Greg Jeffries the batter. He takes outside. Jeffries batting .304, 13 home runs and 55 RBIs. Down low.
Here's the play that Jeffries made. A Strawberry does make contact with Jeffries as he makes the catch in shallow right. Looked like he might have jammed the thumb on that one.
2-0 on Jeffries. Fouls the ball out of play. 2-1. Jeffries having a fine season offensively as you look at those stats, and defensively he's improved. He has a way to go. He's going to have to quicken up those feet around second base on that pivot.
He should take some dancing lessons.
Like it. Foul out of play.
Charlie Fox, the infamous scout who was at one time with Montreal, also Chicago, and I think he scouts now for Chicago. I'm not too sure.
Cubs.
The Cubs. He said he never signed a ball player until he found out whether or not he could dance. He said if he could dance and he had good movement with his feet, he said that was a plus.
2-2 pitch to Jeffries. Pulls the ball in the hole. Face hit off the glove of Mark Grace. So Greg Jeffries is on first base and Darryl Strawberry will bat.
Well, Grace gets a piece of it, but not enough to keep it from going into right field for a single. The Mets have their first hit of the ball game.
Mark Grace will hold Jeffries on, and John McSherry the umpire. And Darryl Strawberry steps in, batting .286, 26 home runs and 74 RBIs. Up high, ball one. I like that theory, though. Don't sign anybody unless they can jitterbug.
That leaves you out.
And you got that right. I've been tripping all over the joint. Inside the straw, 2-0. You were a big dancer. And you were.
I did. I was raised in the era of the jitterbug.
You liked it.
Oh yeah, you had to like that.
How about doing a jitterbug in a postgame show tonight?
I haven't got a band. I have to have a big band.
There's a chopper to short. Dunston flips to Sandberg at second. That'll do it for the Mets here in the bottom of the first. They strand a runner. We've played one. We go to the top of the second inning. Luis Salazar will lead it off. Salazar batting .271, 9 home runs, 36 RBIs. And his first pitch is a strike.
How would you like to have Salazar's mileage on airline trips?
Well, he thinks he's going to be back in San Diego before his career's over. He was there 4 or 5 times. He's their boomerang player. They get rid of him and he comes back. Foul tip, 0-2.
He does a good job. He's quietly a very good ball player.
Yes, he is. Steady player.
Lifetime average 267 coming into this year.
And the 0-2 pitch. Ground ball up the middle. Johnson to first in time. One down. There's a guy, you're looking at a very good athlete right there, Howard Johnson.
The catcher, number
Steve
32.
Darwin, trainer with the Mets, told me he's the strongest player on the team and has the best athletic body. He's underrated. When you judge a player, you look at whether or not he can throw. He can throw. Catch the ball. He can catch the ball. Run. He can run. He can hit. He can hit with power.
And he's done that.
Hector
But this an off year.
Yes, sir. Hector throwing away, but batter 0-1. There's Greg Jeffries. He took a look at what he can do. Hit with some power. Run. Throws okay. Has to improve a little bit defensively, but he will. If you work out 6 hours a day, you'll improve. 1-1. Hector batting .294, 6 home runs, 14 RBIs. Hector has the build of those old-time catchers, huh?
Looks a little like you when you look at him.
Yes, he does. Swung at and missed. 1-2. You got to be stocky. It's almost a prerequisite to be a big eater.
I don't know about him. Rusty should be a catcher, I guess.
You know, Rusty, he's listening to this. He's going to be violent. He'll come out here. Rusty's sitting in the press room. But remember the old days, Yogi's build, stocky. Roy Campanella. Ernie Lombardi. Fouled out of play.
Seriously, it is a disadvantage to be a tall catcher.
I'm telling you right now, if I had to do over again,
You get be shorter.
I'd be a braid surgeon.
Not with those hands.
Yeah, I'd cut it off at about 6'2" if you're going to catch. Here's the 1-2 pitch. And a fly ball in the gap, right center field. Boston in pursuit. Makes the play. Nice play, Darryl Boston. He ran a long way for that ball.
Really tough to run on that wet grass in the outfield. It's soggy. But he tracks it down, makes the good backhand catch. It rattles around there a little bit. And he covered a lot of ground to get that ball. That ball traveled a long way. So Villanueva with outstanding power, and that sort of was a check swing.
Darryl Boston doing the Johnsons, joining the Mets defensively. 2 men down, top of the second inning, and the batter now Sean Dunston, batting .289, 13 dingers and 56 RBIs. Boy, he's really come on as an all-around player for the Cubs. He didn't get along with too many of his managers when he first came to the big leagues. Pops the ball up, and it'll drift into foul territory and out of play. Remember Dunston playing for Gene Michael. He had trouble with Gene Michael. Watch him after he hits this.
He's saying, get in that stand, get in that stand.
Of course, talking about the trouble he had with the managers, a lot of time you can attribute that to youth.
One of his problems was that they wanted to play Boa at shortstop and not the young player.
Well, Boa drove him crazy. In fact, Don Zimmer got into it with Larry Boa about that.
What he said about Boa is unprintable.
Whoa, good pitch right there. Dunston diving into the ball.
This is really a good brushback pitch right here. Dunston, you saw moving into the ball. He moves right into it, and it's inside. Now, that's the wrong way to get out of the way. You got to spin away from that ball. And that's how you get hit. You move into the ball and don't turn away from it.
And the 1-1 pitch, changeup, chopper to third. O'Malley to Magadan scored 5-3, and that'll do it for the Cubbies here in the second. Up here, a couple of guys that work for Stevens. Very proud of a young lady who did very well in the umpire games on Friday, August 3rd. I'll tell you about it in a moment. First pitch to Hojo. There's a strike. Christine Squitieri of East Islip, New York, won the javelin toss. Works here for Stevens.
I understand that when you started out catching in the minor leagues, your manager offered you a job as javelin catcher.
I would have done it. To get in the big leagues, it has to be a difficult job. They had to call time because Howard Johnson hit Villanueva with the bat. Those Empire games give all the kids in the New York area a chance to, you'll see, no, you won't see it. Empire games give those kids an opportunity to compete in all the sports. It's a great concept. Pitch outside to Howard Johnson, 1-1. Did they have things like that when you were a kid?
Well, I was raised in California. We had every chance in the world to participate in sports out there. They had a great organized program for all types of sports.
Today it's even more important. 1-1 pitch. Hit off the end of the bat. Here comes Dunston. Grace is happy. Dunston short-armed that ball.
A little flip throw that time. He didn't gun it.
I'll tell you, remember Bull Durham, who played
for St. Louis?
Yeah, and also the Cubs.
The catcher, number 2.
Look at that play again.
Naki
I thought
Sasser.
that Durham was run out of Chicago because he was handcuffed by Dunston when he was a kid. Dunston would come across that bag on a 4-6-3 double play, and he would unload, and he would literally handcuff Durham at first base. And Durham went back to St. Louis.
You're going to see an awful lot of ground balls in this ball game because Maddox is a ground ball pitcher.
Naki Sasser, the batter, batting .345, 6 home runs, 35 RBIs, and the heater's inside, ball 1. It's looped in left field, base hit. So Naki Sasser on first base. Yogi's got to like him, huh?
He hits an awful lot like Yogi, doesn't
Fielder, number 45.
he? He hasn't been hitting well against the Cubs. He came into this game with a .200 lifetime batting average against the Cubs. In his last 32 games, he's hit .400, so he has really been a hot batter for the Mets.
My big question about Mackey is how did he not get ejected from that ball game last night? He was in the middle of that brawl.
Just looks like he ought to be there, I guess.
I know, really. Mark Carey on the batter, batting .249, 10 home runs, 24 RBIs. Up high and inside, 1-0.
Carrion, when he has started games in the outfield, and he has started 36, has hit 9 home runs in those 36 games and has driven in 22. That's an amazing record.
And the 1-0 pitch. Carrion gets GM, ball might no. Jerome Walton comes in and makes the grab. 2 down.
First fly ball out so far in this game. Greg Maddux in a game against the Dodgers had 7 putouts at first base. That's a major league record. That means that he was taking throws from the first baseman on a regular basis. He is really a ground ball pitcher when he's right.
They were really worried about this kid early in the year. He couldn't win a ball game. As you look at Tom O'Malley batting .257, 2 home runs and 9 RBIs. Inside, ball 1. 1-0 on O'Malley.
He started off the season 4-9 after winning 19 while losing 12 last year.
There's a strike. 1-1.
Tom O'Malley did something this year. He came in a game as a pinch hitter and then stayed in the game. He had 3 consecutive 2-base hits to tie the Mets record for 3 2-base hits in 1 game. That was a game against the Cubs.
There's a strike. 1-2. Well, the Mets kept O'Malley this season. Did not elect to trade him away. A fine year last year in Tidewater. Must be, well, he's from New Jersey, and it's probably tough. It's got to be tough to sit down. But he's done a good job coming off the bench along with Tim Tuffle. That's a tough thing to digest when you're not going to play every day. There's a chopper off Grace's glove into right field. An error on Mark Grace. Mackey Sasser holds down at second base. Mackey's still bothered by that ankle.
He certainly is. With 2 men out, You don't make the last out of the inning at third base, and they wisely stopped him. Although I think he was looking for the stop sign. That ball off the glove. An error charge to Mark Grace. He doesn't make many. Sandberg picks it up in shallow right.
By the way, Mets fans, this break in the action is a good time for you to break open a nice cold Budweiser and enjoy that clean, crisp taste. Yeah, this Bud's for you. Sid Fernandez, the batter, line drive, base hit, left field. Will Sasser score? No, they're going to hold him. Salazar getting the ball in a hurry to the cutoff man. So the Mets now with the bases loaded. Good move by Chuck Yeller. Mackey talking to Chuck, could I have scored? And Chuck emphatically saying no.
Well, this is the 7th hit for Sid Fernandez this year. And they stop Sasser at third, and a good decision. The throw in by Salazar, cut off. Now the Mets with the bases loaded, and Darryl Boston at the plate.
Darryl Boston batting .299. With the bases loaded with Mets. Ball gets by Villanueva. Break for the Mets. 1-0.
Well, we'll see how it scored. Pitch was down in the dirt. If it's a wild pitch, it's only the third.
It's a wild pitch, right?
By Maddox. And
the
ball was definitely a cross-up on the pitch, and now Zimmer out to see if they can get the sign straightened out. He was looking for a breaking ball there, and it was a fastball.
That was an excellent call by Red Full here at Shea Stadium. Red realized that Villanueva was crossed up, so he's putting the blame on the pitcher. Now Zimmer's saying, what's going on with the signs, boys? Maddox probably liked the idea. I'll tell you, that's a mismatch. When you put down breaking ball and he throws your fastball, you're in trouble.
Watch him shift over to his right, looking for the curve, and it stays straight and goes off to his left side. He had no chance.
When you call for a fastball and he crosses you up with a breaking ball, that's a catchable pitch. Tough but catchable as Boston fouls it back. It's 1-1. But when you're crossed up looking for the breaking ball and he throws your fastball, you're going to be handcuffed. You're going to look bad. You're going to feel foolish. And you got to immediately, if you're a catcher, blame the pitcher.
And that's your first step.
Of course. There's a drive right field. Extra bases. 1 run will score. 2 runs will score. Boston in the second base with a double. It's 3-0 New York. Oh, he smoked that ball.
Well, a very big 2-out base hit. You mentioned that Darryl Boston was doing the job defensively. He's also doing it with the bat. In his last 29 games, he was hitting .330. In his last 14, .378. And he gets 2 big RBIs here. His 29th and 30th, and the Mets have a 3-0 lead. And these runs are all unearned.
He get crossed up again. I'll tell you, that's a great catch right there. Now Maddox wants to know what's going on. Somebody might need some glasses. That's twice in 1 inning.
He made a great play to get that. He again was looking for the curveball, and he threw the fastball. Watch his action.
That's great hands.
Now watch this movement he has to make. He's looking inside and goes outside. And he's crossed up one more time, so they have another conference.
I see Maddox is a bit concerned about what's going on, but what they got to do is just get together.
Well, it could be either one's fault. Maybe the catcher can't add up the signs right.
You know, sometimes a catcher, I'm sure it's not the case here, but sometimes a catcher put the sign down, you catch so many pitches, you get set, and you realize you forgot what you called. And he looked like he got crossed up again.
Well, they're really having their problems, aren't they?
I'll tell you, he better be getting crossed up.
Well, he can, now, like you said, it was a curveball that time, so you can adjust to that. And here he goes out again. He says, look it, 1's a fastball, 2 is a curve.
I'm gonna tell you, I've never seen it happen in 3 pitches in 1 inning.
In 1 inning.
Usually after the first one, you get it straightened out.
In 2 conferences.
I know. They must be using some algebra.
Might be calling for a mathematician there to see if he can add up the signs.
You don't think this guy's flinching? See what he's using. It's 1-1 at Magna. Breaking ball inside. You know, with the runner in second base, and you're a catcher, if you touch the mask, the chest protector, and the shin guard, and then go in and give 4 signs, it could be the first sign. They're not going to pick it up. They're going to, by the time they figure out what the chest protector means, the shin guard, and the mask, and none of it means anything.
You really shouldn't have that kind of problem.
It's 3-1.
It can happen occasionally when one or the other makes the mistake of saying what the sign was, but 3 times in 1 inning is too much.
Use the simplest signs you can. Looks like a fastball. He's looking for location. He got it outside. Ball 4. So Magany goes down to first base. Runners on first and second, 2 men down. The batter be Greg Jeffries. Here's Popeye. Speaking of Popeye, how about the guns on this guy?
You swing enough of those bats underwater, you're going to get some pretty good sized forearms, aren't you?
Is he the first one you've ever heard of swinging a bat underwater?
No, but I've heard of exercises in water. And I never knew of a ball player that ever swung a bat underwater.
Okay, I'm sure you get some resistance. Breaking ball for a strike. By the way, Jeffries, if he hits a home run, will tie the Mets club record for home runs by a second baseman. He's going to go by that record.
Jerry Buchek holds that record, huh?
There's the line score. Second inning. Jeffries pops the ball up. It's playable. Dunston going out. He makes the grab. That'll do it for the Mets here in the second, but they picked up. I'll tell you that they were hurt by the cross-up. So I guess it's like closing that barn door, isn't it?
Well, you have to get it straightened out because it's only 3-0. The 3 runs the Mets got in the bottom of the second were unearned because of the error by Mark Grace, prolonging the inning.
Curtis Wilkerson, the batter, fouls the ball back. Wilkerson batting .224, no dingers, 13 RBIs. Speaking of no home runs, Albert Newman Award on the pennant chase. Every now and then, the boys from Phoenix Communication here in New York update his progress as far as home runs are concerned. Outside, 1-1. And in this little feature they do every now and then about Albert Newman, he is quite a character, Ralph. He's only, I think he has 1 home run in his career, and they follow him to find out if he's going to hit another one. He doesn't come close. It's kind of a humorous feature on the pennant chase. That's outside to Wilkerson, 2-1.
Dwayne Kuiper, I think, has the fewest home runs with the most at bats of anybody in the history of the game. They had a player playing for the Cubs at one time, Emil Bourbon, and they have a fan club of his in Chicago. And he hit very few home runs.
Swung on and missed. 2-2.
Cubs are noted for their negative stats that they have accumulated over the years because they haven't been in a World Series since 1945.
Unable to check his swing, strike 3, 1 down.
George Will, when asked about what is a Cub fan, and he's one of them, he said 95% scar tissue.
They have a tremendous following. Not only in Chicago, but all over the country.
I think they might have the largest of any team in the major leagues.
I would agree with you. They have a function they put on in the wintertime. As Greg Maddux swings through fouls the ball off. Strike 1. Maddux batting .224, no home runs and 13 RBIs. And they have people go to a hotel in Chicago and they do They talk baseball, and it's the middle of the winter. They sell out the hotel every time they do it. Fouled out of play.
And Maddox trying to bunt his way on. He has 9 base hits. He was second to David Cohn for hits by a pitcher last year. Cohn with 18, Maddox had 17. There's a great story that happened with Maddox. Maddox was in that horrible slump at the early part of the year. And Don Zimmer made the statement that he said if Maddox would win a game, I'd swim Lake Michigan. Well, he won that day that he had pitched. And after the game, they had Zimmer all decked up with swim fins on. He had a life vest on. There's a swing and a miss for a strikeout, 2 in a row now. And a snorkeling device. And Zim got out of it by saying, I swim like a rock.
There's the Zim. He's quite a character. He's done a fine job managing in Chicago, also in Boston. It's tough to manage up in Beantown. They ran poor Zim out of there. He did a fine job. 2 out. Jerome Walton, the batter. Curveball misses outside, 1-0.
Well, there isn't a better liked guy in baseball than Don Zimmer. Started his career with the Dodgers.
Played some with the Mets.
First third baseman the Mets ever had.
Down and in, 2-0. He set up a statement by Bill Lee really hurt him in Boston when Bill Lee called him a gerbil. I guess that would certainly hurt you.
Yes.
Of course, it was picked up in Boston and used quite a bit. 2-0 on Walton. 2-1.
We understand that Ed Charles, one of the Mets, what is it, 89 third baseman that they've had, is in the stands today.
The poet.
Never throw a slider to the glider.
Good player.
Good player.
See what Tommy Agee celebrating a birthday was on the scoreboard before the game. 2-1 pitch to Walton. Fouled out of play. 2 balls and 2 strikes. Tommy Agee, an outstanding player with the New York Mets. So look at Buddy Harrelson. Teammate of the glider. And Tommy Agee. Saw Eddie Kranepool at the ballpark tonight. Eddie, of course, going into the Mets Hall of Fame. 2-2 pitch. Fly ball center field. Boston is there, makes the grab, and that'll do it for the Cubbies. And Darryl Strawberry, the batter, takes ball 1. 3-0. Mets on top of the Cubs, bottom of the 3rd inning. Straw hits the ball hard on the ground to Sandberg. Sandberg to Grace, scored 4-3.
Sandberg in 123 games making no errors, handling 582 chances. He shattered the record for errorless games in a row for a second baseman in the major league.
Ralph, this kid might turn out to be the best all-around second baseman in the history of the game if he continues.
He's got to continue.
Oh, yes. 1 out now. Howard Johnson, the batter.
Fellow that went in the Hall of Fame this year, a pretty good one.
Joe Morgan. Tell you, I had an opportunity to interview Joe Morgan for a couple hours here in New York about a week ago. He talked eloquently. I'll tell you, he was an excellent interview. We're going to air that on a Halls of Fame series here on Sports Channel. He talked about a lot of things. Swung on and missed. 1-1. Very close friend of George Bush, President of the United States.
Very classy man.
Oh, he is a classy guy, Joe Morgan. Had a great career. Big break for Joe going to Cincinnati. He admits that.
Started his career with Houston, then got with the Big Red Machine and won the MVP 2 years.
He played with our colleague Rusty Staub in Houston. Swung on and missed. 1-2. Joe became a fan favorite in Cincinnati. Of course, Rusty dominated the fans in Houston.
Montreal,
New York.
New York, and Detroit.
The Grand Orange.
Also Texas, wasn't it?
Yeah, wherever Rusty would go, he'd be popular. Here's the 1-2 pitch. Fly ball, center field. Walton is there. Can of corn. 2 down.
Of course, other second basemen that have been great. You certainly have to remember Rogers Hornsby, probably the greatest right-hand batter that ever lived. averaged 400 for 5 consecutive years.
They call him Raja.
They called him a lot of things.
Tell you, he was a tough guy to deal with.
He was very tough.
So those things they call him, we can't repeat. Foul ball at the bat of Mackey Sasser, 0-1. Arthur Richmond told me a story when Rogers Hornsby managed the St. Louis Browns. He would tell the team the bus is going to leave at 5:30. He'd get on a bus at 10 after 5 and tell the bus driver, let's go. I mean, there was pressure to catch the bus.
Of course, that team wasn't very good, so it didn't make a whole lot of difference if the guys were left behind.
Mark Grace will take it himself, and that'll do it here at Shea. Anytime, Elvis is in the background. There's one guy that can imitate Elvis with the best of them. He's sliding in with the play-by-play. Rusty.
Yeah, that's one of my fortes. Me and the King, Big E. Back to the game. Ryan Sandberg leading off. Ryan Sandberg, 17 home runs, 80 RBIs lifetime versus the New York Mets. Quite a player. What a stretch he had defensively.
How about offensively this year?
Yes, he's actually been slumping with home runs. The last month or so, they've been few and far between. Sid tries to sneak a curveball by him. It's out of the zone.
He seems like a streak hitter and hitting home runs like most guys are.
Sid that time tries to come inside, just misses, ball 2.
Home runs seem to come in bunches.
They come in bunches for you, pal?
Don't start. I knew you were going to ask that.
You get 1 or 2
a year.
Sorry, that was terrible. Pop up to the infield. Magadan's there. 1 down.
Got a note here tomorrow. Queens College Amphitheater. The Friends of Raul Martin are holding Raul Fest. Live bands, raffles, etc. to aid Raul, who was recently paralyzed in an automobile accident. So, note of interest to Friends of Raul Martin. It's at 2 p.m. at the Queens College Amphitheater.
Mark Grace facing Sid Fernandez. Foul straight back. Mark Grace in another one of his hot streaks this year. It's hard to believe that a guy that is as good a hitter as he is has gone through the 2 droughts that he's gone through this year.
It's unusual simply because he has a short stroke, short stride. He's not really a home run hitter.
Only 3 home runs and 43 RBIs.
That's a surprise.
Tries to shorten up for a bunt. Sid catches the outside corner for strike 2.
He's a strong kid.
He saw O'Malley playing extremely deep at third. Thought he might dump one down the third baseline, but Sid made too good a pitch.
There's an MVP candidate right there.
Andre Dawson. Swing and a miss. I'll tell you what, he doesn't look that bad when he's swinging the bat good very often. Sid Fernandez really overmatched him that time.
Well, Sid is absolutely nasty on left-handers. This is a mismatch. Mark Grace will tell you it's a mismatch.
Right fielder, Andre Dawson.
He wasn't looking for fastball up and away, that's for sure.
He was pulling off the ball, it's safe to say. His heart was in it. But if you take a look at that picture, there's something that wasn't.
Got to keep that Tucas in the ball game. It was gone.
Look at him.
He's right. Sometimes, you know, you swung that bat down on the ground. What you'd like to do is whack yourself on the forehead with it. It wouldn't hurt too much. Pop up to the infield. This will be Magadan's second pop up of the inning. 3 down. A good inning for Sid Fernandez. After 3.5, 3-0.
Mentioned earlier, Mark Carrion playing left field. Kevin McReynolds hurt his back in the brawl last night. Saw that interview, excellent interview with Pat Gooden, and you guys picked up the fact that he was throwing out in the outfield with Mel Stoudemire with a bandage on his right arm.
Chopper. The pitcher can't get it. Dunston, can he get it? No. Base hit, Carrion. jumped. It got over him. Hey, let's take a look at it.
Well, you get a lot of hearts racing. You got Maddox, you got Dunson, and you really have the hitter. I think the hitter's heart is racing more than anybody's. Dunson might have beaten him to first.
How about Dunston? He didn't pick the ball up. He made the throw anyway. Carry on first with an infield single. O'Malley, who got on an error by Mark Grace his first time up at the plate. Mets 3 runs on 5 hits. Ball 1. What an unusual year for Greg Maddox. 4-1 to start, and then he lost 8 in a row, and now he's won 5 in a row. Trailing by 3. And trying to keep carry on close to the bag. Mark has 1 stolen base in 1 attempt.
So what you're doing is you're questioning why he's throwing to first.
O'Malley, a big swing and a miss. 1-1.
Just goes to show you that the players don't look at the stats as you look at the Briar Scoop. That's a 255 and 251 lifetime against the Cubs, the only non-expansion team they hold a winning record against.
In that early period, when you're an expansion ball club, especially in the past, we don't know what the future will bring. The first 5 or 6 years has not fared well. Ground ball foul. But the only expansion team that competed on a quick basis was the Los Angeles Angels.
On what basis?
They were, I think they came out 3rd in their 2nd or 3rd year of existence. They were the few expansion clubs that competed in their league as an expansion club. They were the earliest to succeed. Should I write your roadmap on that? You got it now?
I got it.
All right. O'Malley on a pitch outside, 2-2. The Mets 37 home runs in their last 36 games. A little ground grubber. They can't make the play at second, so Sandberg goes to Grace. O'Malley's out. Carry on to second. And in a position to watch one of the better hitting clubs with some regularity. I think the Mets do have some very good hitting pitchers.
Do me a favor. Try to go along.
Strike 1 to Sidney. They're all back. We'll see if Buddy changes. Looks like Sid's going to get a chance to hack.
Oh, I'd let him hit. It's 3-0.
Big swing and a miss. Strike 2.
I mean, you'd let him hit all the way, wouldn't you?
I would have let him hit, yes.
I'd have him bunt here.
With 2 strikes, yeah. Sidney on a curveball makes a little contact. Strike 3.
You know, I'll tell you, Russ, this is what you call temptation.
Darryl Boston at the plate with 2 down. Carry on leading off at second base. Big 2-run double last time up for Darryl Boston. Breaking ball. Ball 1. Buddy Ball has been very effective for the New York Mets. Buddy Harrelson 43 wins and 23 losses. Now Maddox is ready. Ball 2. You have an open base. A guy has already hit a 2-run double against you. There's Buddy. Nagging in the next hitter. I don't know who you'd really like to face the most. There's a ball in the outside corner. Strike one. Swing and a miss. Good off-speed pitch that time by Maddox. 2-2 to count. Swing and a miss. He gets him again on that same pitch. Boston's out. So are the Mets.
There's 4 San Diegos, 5 San Diegos, 6 San Diegos. There'll be a 7th. When he got traded, he shook hands with all his teammates and said, "I'll be back in San Diego."
Top of the 5th. Mets ahead by 3. Line drive, hooking foul, and it is. Sid Fernandez, coming into this game, had 103 strikeouts. He was challenging to be in that top 10 list. Andy Benes was number 10 with 103. Sid actually 101. He is past Benes. So back on the list. That makes it 4 out of the top 10 on the New York Mets. Gooden, Viola, Cone, and Sid Fernandez. Mets way ahead in the glamour department. Strikeouts, home runs. Also RBIs and runs scored.
It's the glamour department is RBIs. Runs scored, nah.
Fouled straight back. Wow. That almost took the Wilpons right out of here.
Fred can make a play. Although he's get the bad wheel.
Again fouled straight back. The count remains 0-2.
Vince Coleman hit a home run in that ball game. 5th inning. It's 4-0 St. Louis. Scoreboard watching. It's not too early to watch the scoreboard.
Evidently.
No, it's never too early. Even early in the season, watch the scoreboard. It's fun.
Off-speed pitch. A little slow ground. A short hop by Howard Johnson. Good throw to Magadan. 1 out.
Talked about Dunston's arm. Johnson with a very strong throwing arm.
2 completely different types of throwers. Howard Johnson more of a short armor. That laser beam that Sean Dunston fires over there. Normally he's right over the top.
And there are different types of throws. The shortstop makes more different types of throws than any other player on the field. Maybe one of the reasons Kevin Elster has that sensitive shoulder.
Ground ball up the middle. Howard cuts it off. Over to first. 2 down. Villanueva will go back to the dugout.
You'll see a shortstop with a short arm throw. You'll see a shortstop when he takes that ball out of the glove and comes all the ways over the top. As Rusty mentioned, Sean Dunston. Let's take a look at Hojo. He plays the easy hop, and he short arms the ball most of the time. Of course, he's a third baseman. But, you know, Elster with a variety of throws. I mean, he has some throws that, he has a relaxed throw that gets to second base.
Ah. Do you know those 3 girls, Fran?
I know all 3, though. The one way over there on the left is my oldest daughter, Sister Debbie.
Is that the one you said was going into the convent?
She's going in, too. The other one's, but this one's...
She probably heard it. She says, "No, I'm not." 0-1 to Sean Dunston. Dunston really struggling against the New York Mets this year. 3 hits and 23 at-bats. 1 home run, 3 RBIs.
Well, he's got, we talked about talent. We talked about Howard Johnson being able to do everything with Greg Jeffries. How about this guy? The speed he has and that throwing arm, the way he can catch the ball. He can hit the ball with power, and he's hitting for average. Complete player.
Swing and a miss by Dunston. Strike 2.
Joe McIlvaine told me if this guy was available when the Mets drafted, they would have taken him ahead of Dwight Gooden.
I hear you. Sid Fernandez 1 strike away from making this an official game. We all realize that there is all kinds of weather Expected in New York over this weekend. Hard ground ball up. Howard Johnson, what a play. Throw to first. Scoop by Magadan. Big league play by both ends. And on the budget scoreboard, it is New York 3, Chicago nothing. Wow, what a play.
Third baseman, watch this. Sean Dunston hits the ball up the middle. The ball says base hit. Hojo says no. Great play. Outstanding play by Howard Johnson.
And a fine pickup by Magadan on the ball in the dirt. Just a big league play all the way around. Magadan leading off 0 for 1. Grounded out to second in the first, and then walked in the second inning. Take strike one. 1-1. What a difference a year can make. What a difference 2.5, 3 months can make for Dave Magadan.
You were a big believer in Mags.
Yes. It always astounded me that he didn't get a real good chance to play, particularly this year.
And as I mentioned earlier, he had the sympathy vote here in New York. The fans wanted him to get an opportunity.
That's why. Ropes everywhere.
Second baseman, Greg Jeffries.
Well, you're going to see a major league swing now. Short, compact stroke. The only thing that hurts Dave Magadan, and I think he will start hitting with power, is they want him to hit with power. If Dave Magadan was about 5'9", nobody would say anything. But Dave's a big guy, so they want him to hit with power. He has the possibility or the potential of hitting with power.
Jeffries at the plate, ball one.
I'll tell you, Maddox has Villanueva flinching behind the plate. He grabbed at that ball like he was going after an apple in a tree. You got to let the ball come to your glove and relax. But when you're crossed up a few times, you start to flinch behind the plate.
Wants a fastball away, gets it, but it's outside.
He's going to take some abuse from the bench. Bill, you'd be
yelling at box up a dozen. Yeah, we'll take him home.
Box up a crate. That's the worst thing you could say to a catcher. Now Villanueva's telling Maddox, look, you cross me up one more time, I'm going to come out here and pop you. He's sick of this being a diplomat.
He said, if I put my glove up, it's a fastball. If I put it behind my back, throw a hook.
Look at the tape.
That's what it was. I called that inside. Just a little trouble seeing for Maddox. That's ball three now. Nobody out. Magadan at first. 3-0 on Jeffries. Jeffries takes ball four. Second walk by Maddox. You know, even though the catcher seems to be unnerved, maybe even Maddox got a little unnerved with all the crossing up.
Yeah, that's a good point. Although pitchers don't really care about catchers.
Dunston right at second base. Ball one to Darryl Strawberry. Strawman 0 for 2.
Here comes Dick Paul, the pitching coach with the Chicago Cubs. Like yourself.
Line shot, but it's foul. Maddox said that during the 5-game winning streak that he brought into this game, that he was not pitching any differently than when he lost the 8 games in a row.
Look at those stats. You mentioned those, that 5-0 record.
Hard to believe he went 2 months without a win. 2 months.
That's incredible.
Besides the 8 losses, a number of no decisions. 1-1 on Strawberry. Jeffries at first. Magadan at second. Mets on top 3-0. Trying to add to it. Charlie Williams behind the plate calls time. Now Strawberry steps back in. 2-1. Howard Johnson in the on-deck circle. Howard hitting in the number 5 slot tonight. Kevin McReynolds, a sore back. Swung on and just fouled off to the third base side.
Well, Philadelphia, nobody injured in the brawl because they have the same lineup as they did last night, their game tonight. Of course, you never know. I mean, they might have had a backup player get hurt. Dangerous, dangerous deal when you go out on the mound.
2-2 to Strawberry. Nobody out. Tailing fastball does not get the call. Full count. We'll see if Buddy Harrelson has Magadan and Jeffries go. They're not going. Swing and a miss, but it's fouled off. Pardon?
By the way, Barry Bonds hit a 2-run dinger in that ball game in Pittsburgh. It's now 4-2 in favor of the Cards.
When Maddox has that off-speed pitch going well for him, he is such a better pitcher. They're still in trouble here.
Villanueva's going out, and he's going to tell him, let's throw this pitch. They're too concerned, I think, with the runner on second base. I'll tell you, what I never liked, Rusty, was changing the signs without verbally doing it with the runner on second base. The pitcher has so much on his mind. You go out and tell him, look, we're going to change the signs. We were talking earlier, make them as simple as possible, but complicated enough where the opposition can't pick them up.
It's a full count. They're not going. A ground ball to third. Wilkerson the second to throw to first does not get Strawberry. Strawberry running hard down the first base line. Beat the relay throw from Sandberg.
Here's Straw. Straw was beaten with that pitch inside. He gets severely jammed. Wilkerson going to second base for the force. How about Dunston taking the throw?
You're right.
Right over the top, and he almost got Straw, but Dunston was so close to second base that he took the throw. That's unusual.
They were playing Strawberry to pull so much. That's quite a play. 5 to 6 to 3. That's an unusual one. 1 out, first and third. Hojo takes a breaking ball up and in. Big swing and a miss. Strike one. Howard Johnson swinging with all his might. We'll see now with 1 strike if he adjusts that at all. Sasser in the on-deck circle. Looking at Magadan at third. Strawman at first. Ball in the dirt. Villanueva blocks it. 2 balls and a strike.
This is an uncomfortable night for a catcher. And Maddox looks like a guy that ordinarily would be easy to catch. He throws a sinker. He's usually around the plate. But after you get crossed up 3 times in 1 inning, you start to flinch, and then he's starting to bounce balls up to the plate. You got to block the ball. It's a long night. Here's Hojo. Last night's ball game. Big home run over the 371 mark here at Shea Stadium.
Well, what a lift that put into the New York Mets. Come back and win that game against the Phillies after the altercation. Howard, too much time taken by Maddox. Hard ground ball. Good play by Mark Grace. He's going to have Magadan in a rundown. Strawberry now going toward third. They tag Magadan. Strawberry to third. Johnson to second. So Magadan does a fine job. Got in the rundown. Got the runners to their respective bases.
Here, Mark Grace. We're going to walk back to Sasser. Will Clark. Don Mattingly. One time they used to take guys and put them on first base if they had no place else to put them.
I've told you a few times, and for the fans that have not heard that, when Pete Rose, who was an all-star at 5 positions, discussed defense, he said the toughest place for him to play was first base. There was so many details, learning the footwork. You're in every play. You have to be so alert in different areas.
It became a position that guys advanced it defensively. At one time, it didn't seem like they were concerned about a good defensive first baseman, and I don't know why. All of a sudden, they got some they came on the scene and they impressed people, and they said, boy, we should put some guys over there that can play defense, and that's what they've been doing.
Well, the Mets had the pleasure to watch one of the best for a long time, Keith Hernandez. Unfortunately for Keith, he's on the disabled list for the 3rd time this year with that calf muscle. Carry on, takes a ball. Bases loaded, 2 down. Oh, the ball hits him. A run is going to come in, the ball up and in. Now the pitcher's going to talk about whether or not it hit the bat.
He thinks it hit the handle of the bat. That knob at the end of the bat where you secure the bottom hand. Zim's got to be very concerned. Maddox wild right now.
Strawberry comes in, scores the 4th run.
It doesn't hurt as much when you get credit for an RBI, does it?
Hit him right in the hands.
When you get hit with the bases loaded, some of that sting wears off in a hurry.
Tom O'Malley, same situation. Takes another ball. We'll see if it cost him. Pop up. Will it stay in play? Villanueva at the dugout, and it's foul. Runs under Buddy. They really have. Now 2 balls and a strike.
Well, Buddy, of course, learned by some of the criticism. Jansen started moving the outfielders around.
Another pitch out of the strike zone. 3-1. O'Malley really in the driver's seat now. Ground ball, and it's foul. Full count. The runners will be going. It's because of Don Hoke.
He didn't touch the base. That's interesting.
Don Hoke with this count. We're going to watch the game. We'll get back to that if we get an opportunity. Here's the pitch. Swing and a miss. Strike 3. Maddox strands 3. The Mets score 1. You see there is some blood.
Number 19, third baseman Curtis Wilkerson.
And that'll happen underneath a pretty thick batting glove. Wilkerson takes a ball from Sid Fernandez. Left field's been a tough position for the Mets tonight. Kevin McReynolds scheduled to be in left field. Scratched because of a sore back. Carry on now out of the game. This ball, a fly ball to Strawberry in right, plenty room. 1 down. Going to send Maddox up to hit for himself.
The pitcher, Greg Maddox.
Right now, he's been red hot. You don't want him out of the ball game. You're hoping he'll get it together, and the Cubs will come back and score some runs.
Line drive, foul. 0-1 to the pitcher.
Here's Maddox swinging and fouling the ball off. Wow.
I don't think they're going to use that one in the film.
No.
Swing and a miss, strike 2. As Ralph and Fran were talking earlier in the game, the Cubs 17 wins in their last 23 games. They have been hot. But it's been the Mets all night. They lead 4-0. Fouled off to the right side. Still 0-2.
He's staying alive.
Fans would like to remind you that New York Mets baseball is being brought to you by Manufacturers Hanover, where your money has power. Sid Fernandez has been powerful himself tonight. Breaking ball out of the zone.
If Maddox hit that ball, there was a good chance that his front foot would have been his back foot. His right foot was going in front of his left foot.
Foul straight back. Count still 1-2. Sid Fernandez has only given up one hit. It was a double by Ryan Sandberg, the second hitter of the game. He has retired 15 hitters in a row since that point, working on number 16. Again fouled off to the right side.
Update that Cardinal-Pittsburgh score. The Cardinals scoring another run. It's now 5-3. Cardinals in front of Pittsburgh in the top of the 6th inning.
This is supposed to be a good time for Pittsburgh while they're at home. It hasn't worked out to be that way. Little tapper back to Sidney. He's got it. Over to Magadan, 2 down.
When you're tired, you have a better sinker ball. You get my drift?
It's always good to give him a little break.
I get the break.
Sidney with a nice curveball to Walton, strike 1. Mets not giving Walton any chance for a bunt. Magadan in at first. O'Malley in at third. Big wide open stance by Jerome Walton. Gets jammed and the ball goes foul down the right field line. 0-2. Walton has flown out to center field his first 2 times up. Line shot. What a play again by Howard Johnson. Wheels. Bullet to first to Magadan. And Jerome Walton will be weeping about that tonight. What a play. 2 great plays by Howard Johnson in this game. After 5.5, it's Mets over Chicago 4-0.
Use the music here between innings. Locomotion. It's a dance they did years ago. Ralph Kiner talking about you have to be able to dance to play baseball. I wonder if Ralph was in the press room dancing to that music.
I don't know. I saw Ralph at some of the Hall of Fame ceremonies. He was dancing around pretty good.
Oh, he's light on his feet. There's no doubt about it. You were an excellent baseball player. Could you dance?
Not a lick. Sid Fernandez takes a strike, 1-1.
What's that song? I can't dance.
Don't ask me. It's one of my favorite tunes. Sid takes a big swing for strike 2. Sid, a nice, clean, crisp single to left field his first time up, just using his hands. Now he's getting carried away and going for the pump.
Everybody wants to pinch hit. David Cone got the nod over everybody.
Ground ball to second. Wrong guy to go to. Sandberg to Grace. 1 out. I doubt it.
There'll be some noise.
Darryl Boston leading off. Okay, get on me. I hear you. Strike 1. It's 2 days in a row you've been burying me.
Yes, Kitty, you know that.
It's all right. Will I put that powder in your food when you come by the joint? Swing and a miss on that good off-speed pitch by Maddox. My dad used to tell that to my grandmother all the time. He said that's the only reason why you ever got me to marry your daughter, my mom's mom used to want to kill him. 2 strikes and a ground ball to the second baseman Sandberg. He is really the wrong guy to hit the ball to. If there's anybody in this ballpark you do not want to hit the ball to, it's Ryan Sandberg.
He plays second base just like his personality. Very steady, quiet,
And efficient.
nothing flamboyant.
Magadan with 2 down. Takes ball 1. David grounded to second, walked, and he singled, hitting .339 at this moment. Ground ball to first. Grace has it. Toss to Maddox. 3 up, 3 down in the bottom of the 6th. But the Mets do hold the lead, 4-0. We'll be back after these words.
Accolades for a wonderful party.
Well, my crew did a marvelous job. I was very proud.
Mets leading 4-0, 4 runs on 6 hits. The Cubs no runs on 1, and leading off for the Mets. As Sid Fernandez with his first pitch misses for ball 1. Ryan Sandberg. Sandberg with the only hit of the ball game, a double in the first inning for the Cubs. Popped up to first his other time up. And that pitch just outside, a changeup for ball 2. 2 balls and no strikes. Cubs have been a hot team. They have won 5 of their last 6, 17 of their last 23. And they have the best record in the major leagues since the All-Star break. They have won 17 and lost 9. The 2-0 pitch. Fastball, a strike, and it's 2-1. Mets over that period have won 16 and lost 14. Cardinals second to the Cubs, 16 and 13. Ground ball hit hard to third. Another great play. This time O'Malley, and the throw to first for the out. While Johnson with a ole play at shortstop in the inning before, and now Tom O'Malley in the act.
This is kind of an ole. Put the glove out there. Nice soft hands. Give credit to O'Malley. He's almost smiling as he caught the ball. He knew he made a fine play. Nice play.
Cubs are going to wonder
Look at the
going
smile.
on.
Look at the smile on his face. That's great.
2 in a row by the Mets. Jerome Walton ended the inning when Johnson made a fantastic play at short. And now O'Malley, and that brings up Mark Grace. Grace has struck out twice.
Sandberg. He has 26 home runs and 19 stolen bases. He's trying to get on. If he steals another base, he'll enter the 2020 club for the 2nd time in his career.
Had a chance in the first inning when he was on second with 1 out, but didn't make the attempt. Grace followed by striking out, and then Dawson was out on the pop to shallow right. A good play in the ball by Greg Jeffers. The only scoring threat that the Cubs have had in this game. Now the 2-strike pitch, and he gets him again. So Grace has struck out for the 3rd time, and all on extremely weak swings. 5th strikeout for Sid Fernandez.
And that is the 19th Chicago Cub to go down in a row. Ralph told you that the second guy up, Ryan Sandberg, got that double. Nobody else has come close. I shouldn't say come close. They did hit some nice balls, but some fine plays.
Never got there, though. Now on to Andre Dawson, the batter. He's 0 for 2, 2 pop-ups. Sid starts him off with a good curve. Sid with a fine curveball here tonight. It has really set up his fastball.
Here's his last 2 outings. 1 1/3 his last 2 times ago. 4 innings his last outing. Here it comes.
He has really had 2 disappointing starts for the Mets. But overall, with a record of 7 and 8, he's trying to even it up here tonight. Leads by a score of 4-0. And the fastball is missed. 1 and 2. The Mets have been gifted with their runs.
That's tonight's line. 6 2/3, only 1 hit. Nothing but strikeouts. 5 of them.
1-2 to Andre Dawson. And he just barely taps that one as he's fooled completely by the curveball. The throw to first base retires the side in order. And the score at the end of 6.5 innings, the Mets 4 and the Cubs nothing.
By North Star Bank, a member of Fleet North Star Financial Group.
5-3 in the 6th, St. Louis over Pittsburgh. Cincinnati 5, San Francisco nothing in the first of a 4-game series in Cincinnati. 4-1 Montreal over Philadelphia in the 6th.
Second baseman.
1-1 tie in the 6th. Los Angeles at Atlanta. San Diego 2-0 over Houston in the 3rd. In the American League, 6-5 Kansas City over Milwaukee in the first game. 5-1 in the 6th. Chicago over Texas. 5-0 Cleveland over Detroit in the 7th. All tied 3 apiece in the 7th. Minnesota at Toronto. New York at Oakland later tonight. Also Boston and Seattle, and Baltimore in California.
And Greg Jefferies takes the first pitch from Greg Maddux. Fastball for strike 1. Jefferies 1 for 2 and a walk, and the off-speed pitch for ball 1. 1 ball, 1 strike.
Ralph, were you a little surprised that manager Don Zimmer allowed Maddux to hit?
Well, he's a pretty good hitting pitcher, but that doesn't really quite measure up. Again, the off-speed pitch, and it's fouled off 1-2.
Maddux 9 hits in 58 at bats.
1 man out back in the 6th inning. That is a little surprising. This ball hit hard to right field, and Jefferies on his way for a double. Dawson fields it. Jefferies in with a 2-base hit. And Jefferies now moving up on the leader in the National League in 2-base hits, Tim Wallach.
Take a look at it. Jefferies entering the game number 3 with 28. This is his 29th double. Just a good solid line drive. What great popping of the hips he has, Ralph.
The makings of an outstanding hitter. He came into this game hitting just over 300 at 304. 2 for 3 tonight, and that brings up Darryl Strawberry. Strawberry 0 for 3. And he fouls off the fastball. Wallach with 31 2-base hits, Dykstra with 30, and now Jefferies with 29. One-strike pitch, fastball just missing. 1 ball, 1 strike.
In the bullpen for Chicago, it is Jeff Pico and Paul Assenmacher.
And a ball call, so it's 2-1 to Strawberry. Strawberry with a lifetime average of 274 against the Cubs with 20 home runs, 64 runs batted in. He has 104 hits against Chicago in his major league career.
Dunston playing right behind Jefferies. You see where he is? He's almost like he's talking in his ear.
They put on that shift against Strawberry. It's not the Ted Williams type shift where they put the shortstop on the second base side. This ball hit up the middle. No shift will get that one. Walton falls down at center field. Strawberry going to second base, and he makes it. So on the 2-base hit, Jefferies scores, and the Mets lead it 5-0 as Strawberry gets his 65th run batted in.
Darryl going right back through the middle. Jerome Walton trips, and when he does, Strawberry very aggressive and good base running. I've never understood why the shortstop goes out to get that ball. He's got to get to the bag. Shortstops and second basemen have a real tendency to do that, Ralph, and I don't understand why. They've got to make the tag at second base, and they catch the ball out in front of it and then turn around and try to tag the runner. Doesn't make sense.
A lot of time now. Can't make that play.
This call to the bullpen is sponsored by New York Telephone. who reminds you we are all connected. A 4-2 record, a 3.71 earned run average. 3 for 3 in save attempts this year. In 56 games, he's pitched 68 innings, given up 67 hits, walked 28, and struck out 56.
So the left-hander brought in to turn Howard Johnson around to the right-hand side.
Let me correct one thing. He is not 3 for 3. He is 3 for 11 in save opportunities this year. This is definitely not one of them. Chicago trailing 5-0.
Shortstop Howard Johnson.
Well, there's a break in the action right here at Shea. Ought to be a great time to break for the great taste of Bud Light. It's a big hit with fans everywhere because everything else is just alike. Howard Johnson turned over to the right side. He's hitting .201 right-handed with 4 home runs. Coming into this game, he was hitting .271 left-handed with 13 home runs. Johnson 0 for 3 tonight, batting from the left-hand side of the plate. And batting with no one out here in the 7th inning. The Mets leading by a score of 5-0. They have 8 base hits. The Cubs have 1.
Howard Johnson may not be featuring the lumber so far tonight, but he has been featuring the leather.
Made 2 outstanding plays at shortstop, and the check swing is fouled, and it's strike 1. Talking about the Cubs being hot, the Mets have won 2 of their last 3. 35 of their last 49 games under Bud Harrelson. They have won 43 and lost 23. Bud started out winning only 1 of his first 5 games. But since then, the Mets have really turned it on. A ball call, 1-1.
The Mets have almost been unbeatable at home. 23 victories in their last 29 games. That is quite a run.
Best road record in the major leagues, I should say home record in the major leagues, 37-18. It doesn't hurt that you have all these fans in the stand.
The 10th man on the field.
Another big crowd here tonight. The Mets and Cubs, the start of a 3-game series. Tomorrow a night game. Darling working for the Mets against Mike Bilecki. Darling 4-6, Bilecki 4-8, and then Sunday a day game with Viola going for number 16. He's lost 6 against Mike Harkey, who is 10-5.
And he has been pitching brilliantly, Mike Harkey.
The 2-2 pitch, just low, and it's 3-2.
Actually, since the All-Star break, this 17-6 record that the Cubs have, the Cub people attribute it to fine pitching. It hasn't been so much, even though a few of their guys are hitting the ball well. They haven't scored a tremendous amount of runs, but the pitching has been so improved.
It really does boil down to that. Here's a 3-2 pitch. And it swung on and missed. Got him with a breaking ball, so Johnson is out. That'll bring up Mackey Sasser. Behind him, Keith Miller. Sasser, a red-hot batter for the Mets, and they're going to pitch to him. Sasser 1 for 2 tonight. In his last 32 games, he's hit .400. And he goes after the breaking ball. Back on May 3rd, Mackey Sasser was hitting .045.
But that didn't last long.
He has turned it on, and he came into this game hitting .345. A gain of 300 points.
They ought to have an award for the most improved player. Mackey would be in that contention.
He certainly would be.
A comeback player of the year. It's hard to think that someone might beat John Tudor out to being out of everybody's opinion out of baseball because of a bad arm.
And the fastball fouled away, strike 2. Not only has he hit in an amazing fashion. Of the last 56 runners attempting to steal, he's caught 21, catching 38% of the runners. And even with all that, the Mets catchers have caught only 22%.
That man's been a big part of it too. Doc Edwards spending a lot of long hours and fun hours with Mackey Sasser. One of the things that gets lost in the translation sometimes by people, Ralph, is that when you're practicing, that's not always like it's a negative. It's a lot of fun to work on things and improve.
This ball hit foul into the stands. I've always felt that way.
Really?
I always thought that practice was a lot of fun, and especially batting practice. You see so many players today that just don't take batting practice. That's the most fun in the game.
I used to love to take grounders in the infield, even when I was an outfielder.
1 ball, 2 strikes, and there's ball 2, 2-2. Satchel Paige, the great Negro pitcher, who finally got a break and did get to the major leagues late, very late in his career. Used to take infield all the time, even during the days of the games he pitched. He worked out at third base. It was a loosening up process.
And that's a little unusual there.
He pitched every day. Now the 2-2 pitch, and it's a check swing bouncer to third. A little spin in the ball, picked up by the third baseman Wilkerson, and his throw to first base is in time. And that ball had English all over it. Coming to you right from London.
Right off the edge of the bat. A lot of spin. Look at that ball jump. Wilkerson picks it up. Strawberry makes a good base running play there as he makes the throw that just gets Sasser. Straw moved on to third.
We just got word that Mark Carrion had to have 3 stitches taken in the palm of his hand, and he's listed as day-to-day. He was the starting left fielder in this game when McReynolds was scratched because of a bad back. And now the man who replaced Carrion, Keith Miller. And the first pitch to Miller, ball 1. Miller batting for the first time, hitting .287 on the year with 1 home run, 9 runs batted in. Carrion incidentally got a run batted in the ball game when he was hit by a pitch ball with the bases loaded. Mets getting 3 unearned runs in the second, and a run when Carrion was hit by a pitch ball with the bases loaded, and that pitch inside. 2-1. Good curveball. 2 balls, 2 strikes.
Assenmacher will throw that breaking pitch, whether he's ahead in the count or behind in the count. Just really doesn't make much difference to him. It's more of a bread and butter pitch than the fastball.
Two balls, 2 strikes. And he gets him with a high fastball. So Assenmacher does the job, coming in relief, leaving a runner on. But the Mets score 1 run on 2 hits, back-to-back doubles by Jeffries and Strawberry, and they leave 1 on third. And the score at the end of 7. It's the Mets 5 and the Cubs nothing.
Dog Live gives you the opportunity to call in and talk to Chris Mad Dog Russo of WFAN Radio and his guest, Mets Vice President of Baseball Operations, Joe McIlvaine. That's Mad Dog Live, Monday night at 8 o'clock, live and exclusive right here on Sports Channel.
And it's Luis Salazar to lead it off for the Cubs. The Mets leading 5-0. They have 8 hits. The Cubs have had 1. And the first pitch, a fastball fouled away.
I was on that show 2 Mondays ago, Ralph. There's no telling what Christopher Mad Dog Russo is going to come up with, but it's a fun show. People enjoy watching it.
He is aptly named. He has a lot of enthusiasm for everything he does, but he has one very bad trait. He's a Giant fan. San Francisco
and a Will Clark
fan.
He's a massive Will Clark fan. At least Mad Dog and I agree on that. I'm kind of a massive Will Clark fan myself.
He's your neighbor from New Orleans. Went to the same high school you went to. You taught him everything he knows.
No, but I am prejudiced. And I'll admit it.
2 strikes to count on Luis Salazar. Fernandez has retired 20 consecutive batters. And he misses with a curve, 1-2. When you sit around, you got nothing to do, as we so often have to do when on the road. People get into the conversation, who will become the first Mets pitcher to pitch a no-hit, no-run game? They have never had a pitcher pitch a no-hit, no-run game. Again, a foul ball. I would say, Rusty, the consensus would be Sid Fernandez from the people that get involved in that.
He's as good a target as anybody. His lifetime average with hitters against Sid Fernandez in his whole career is only 207. That is spectacular.
Of course, you saw Doc Gooden. He's also a candidate. This ball hit down the line.
Viola, Cone, they're all candidates.
So
Darling's
far,
thrown a one-hitter.
nobody's been elected. David Cohen with awesome stuff.
There he is. David's back with us. He was gone there for a minute.
He's probably thinking about that pitch Don Carmen threw behind his head when he was in the game the other night. How he's going to get even. Here's the 1-2 pitch. Hit hard to left field. It could be gone. Miller back to the wall. Going. It is gone. Goodbye. So Sid loses the shutout. He has had one this year as Salazar does it again to the New York Mets. His 6th home run against the Mets. And it puts the Cubs on the scoreboard.
Sid's pitched a fine game. That was his 2nd hit of the night against. Let's watch Luis Salazar go after this pitch. Kind of a high fastball. We've talked many times about sometimes late in the game how Sid might lose a little bit of that velocity. I don't know if it was that, Ralph, or the fact that Salazar really got on top of it. Here's the side view. He knows he's got a home run here.
So only the 2nd hit given up by Sid. The first hit, a double coming in the 1st.
Used to have one of those Cadillac strides too, Ralph?
I used to love that pitch. And the pitch back, a breaking ball, and the count 1-1. Hector Villanueva, the batter. Hit a long drive to center field. It was caught his first time up. Also has grounded out. And again the curve.
Did you style around the bases? I used to kind of trudge even on home runs.
I never styled, and you never wanted to style around the bases because you had to hit again.
You got that right.
I never even looked at the pitcher.
I never ever looked at a pitcher I hit a home run against.
Because in those days they would knock you on your derriere. There's a strike, 2-2. Not once but twice. Maybe 3 times. Maybe 4. In fact, I saw Stan Musial was being walked intentionally and the pitcher threw 4 balls at his head.
Wow. The 7th inning, St. Louis 6-3 over Pittsburgh. Sid's got to come and get Villanueva. Otherwise, Buddy Harrelson has to consider getting some people up in the bullpen.
One of the few times that I ever got hit playing, they were walking me intentionally. The count had gotten to 3-1, and the catcher had moved out. There is a pop-up in the infield.
A major league pop-up, too.
Jeffrey's coasting under it, and he makes the play. So Villanueva becomes the first out here in the 8th inning. And I was sort of asleep at the plate. 3-1 pitch. They were going to walk me intensely, and Jerry Staley was the pitcher, and he hit me right in the back of the neck.
I bet you never forgot that.
I'm still thinking about it. I haven't seen him much lately.
But you should have dropped one down the first baseline on that.
Well,
you could have been killed.
I was on first base, but no chance to get even.
Some people think there's always a chance.
Well, now the batter is Sean Dunston, and he backs out of the batter's box. His time is called. Dunston in this game grounded out the 3rd and then was robbed of a base hit on an almost unbelievable play by Howard Johnson diving to his left on a drive up the middle. And he's out in front and pulls it into the Cub dugout.
Moved him around a little bit. Here's a look at it. This is called getting out front.
I don't know how you can be fooled that badly.
Guy is diving all over the place.
One strike to count to Sean Dunston. Sid again with the off-speed pitch. This time he misses with it. 1 ball, 1 strike. Dunston in his major league career hitting .253 against the Mets with 7 home runs and 22 RBIs. #1 draft choice in the nation. Made his home in Brooklyn. And a good fastball. 1-2. And again the fastball. This time it's fouled back out of play. Dunston at Thomas and Jefferson High School in Brooklyn. Hit .790 as a senior there. .790.
What you should have done there is try to track down those pitchers that got him out and sign him up in a hurry.
And a ground ball hit to the second shortstop side and fielded by Johnson to throw to first base in time, and Johnson showing his arm off on that play.
Sean Dunston really hauling down that first baseline.
Since the history of the Major League Draft, Dunston the highest pick ever out of New York. Picked #1 in the nation. No other player has ever been picked #1 in the nation out of this New York area.
No one's ever going to beat that. They might tie it. He has some talent and is developing.
Mazzilli was picked 14th in the nation the year that he signed. And now the batter is Kurt Wickerson, and he fouls off a pitch, and it's strike 1. That's the 95th pitch that Sid Fernandez has thrown in this game. Kurt 0 for 2. He has struck out. Sid has struck out 5. And a ball call, so it's 1-1. Wilkerson with a lifetime batting average of .254 with only 4 home runs coming into this year. He has not had a home run against the Mets, and this pitch fouled away, and it's 1-2.
Do you think Sid is laboring a little more in this inning, Ralph?
Looks like he is, doesn't it?
Do you think he should come in and pitch in the 9th inning? It's one of the things a manager has to make a decision on. You want to give your bullpen a little rest.
Well, Franco pitched yesterday.
Well, we're not talking about Franco with a 5-1 lead if it ends up that way.
Well, Sid's complete games don't mean anything. 10 groundouts. That's amazing.
That really is. That might be a record for Sid Fernandez.
He's thrown a lot more ground balls this year. And this one hit in the air to right field. Strawberry is there. And Strawberry picks it. So 1 run on the home run by takes the first pitch from Ossenmacher, and it's in there for a called strike.
Sid Fernandez in the on-deck circle, a hit for himself.
That answers your question.
Yep. I guess I'm a believer in that, Ralph. Not make that guy struggle that last inning. May affect him the next start. Take a lot more out of him.
Hard ball hit to Sandberg at second base, and O'Malley is out. Jim Palmer, who was inducted into the Hall of Fame last Monday, said he felt that it was his job to get the lineup out 4 times. He wanted to get the complete game. But that philosophy has changed.
Big round of applause for Sidney. Gets carried away with it and tries to hit it out of the ballpark.
He's had a base hit in 3 at-bats.
He had, we talked about this, he had such a nice, clean, crisp swing on that base hit. And since that point, every swing has been for the downs.
Sid's trying to get even in the home run department with Doc Gooden, who has hit 1 home run this year, and this pitch fouled back out of play, 1-2. So Bud Harrelson sitting on a 5-1 lead. Bottom of the 8th inning. Pirates are losing their game. If the Mets win and the Pirates lose, the Mets are going to first place. And the fastball gets him. So Osemacher strikes out 3 of the first 5 batters he has faced in relief of Greg Maddux. And he'll now work to Darrell Boston. Boston with a big 2-base hit in the 2nd inning.
Darrell Boston got a couple of really clutch base hits off Osemacher in that doubleheader. That big doubleheader in Chicago that the Mets swept. 2 really good hits off this pitcher. Tough left-hander.
And the first pitch, ball 1. Boston with a double to drive in 2 runs for the Mets. And that put them up by a score of 3-0. They added 1 more run in the 5th inning, another in the 7th. And they lead it 5-1. 3 balls, no strikes. Boston 1 for 4 with that double. Now has 30 runs batted in. Hitting an even 300 now, and he takes the fastball 3-1. In his last 29 games, he's hit 330. In his last 14 games, 378. Fouls off a fastball, 3-2.
And all from a guy who was put on waivers by the Chicago White Sox.
Unconditional released by the White Sox.
What a find for the New York Mets.
And this one popped up on the shortstop side. Dunston over to make the play, and that will end the inning. 1, 2, 3, 6 in a row for Osemacher with 3 strikeouts. The score at the end of 8. The Mets 5 and the Cubs 1. The Mets leading by a score of 5-1. Sid Fernandez trying to become a complete game pitcher here in this ball game. He's had 1 a 2-hit shutout. The Mets have had only 10 complete games from their starting staff all year long. Sid, after his last appearance, and he had 2 bad ones in a row, the last one against the St. Louis Cardinals, had a meeting with Mel Stoudemire and Bud Harrelson after the ball game that he had pitched and was knocked out of the box. It was a 50-minute meeting, just the 3 of them. Evidently the effects of that meeting on the positive side.
They are tonight. Facing Sid Fernandez, Domingo Ramos hitting .219, 1 for 13 as a pinch hitter this year.
Ramos a pinch hitter for the pitcher, Osemacher, and the first pitch by Sid, a fastball, a called strike. Ramos, another player born in the Dominican Republic. He lives there. Signed originally as a free agent by the Yankees back in 1975, and this pitch is fouled away, strike 2. Last year for the Cubs, he hit .263 with 1 home run, 19 runs batted in. Two strikes the count. Sid trying to close the Cubs down here. He goes to the curve and gets it. Beautiful curveball by Sid Fernandez, his 6th strikeout.
There's the big S's for Sid. You know, one of the amazing things, let's take a look at this pitch. Big swooping curveball, back door, gets him. The Cubs are coming in. They say, I'm not going to face Viola or Gooden. Aren't I lucky?
So they get Sid Fernandez.
They get
he
Sid
pitches a great
Fernandez.
game.
They're going to follow with Darling and Viola. Actually, it was. Go ahead. I'm sorry, Ralph.
Just a little looper in the center for a base hit by Walton. His first in the game. He had been 0 for 3. So Sid gives up his third hit, 2 in the last 2 innings. And that'll bring up Ryan Sandberg, who got the first hit back in the first. Sid then retired 20 consecutive batters before giving up the home run to Luis Salazar. That was the 14th home run that Sid has given up this year. So Sandberg 1 for 3 and robbed of an extra base hit on a great play by Tom O'Malley at third. And the breaking ball, a strike. Now action starting up in the bullpen for the Mets. John Franco, even though the Mets have a 5-1 lead. Franco starting to loosen up. He pitched in last night's game and struggled through it, but got a save. It had been his first time on the mound in 8 days. He leads the National League in saves with 25. 1-1 the count to Sandberg. And the fastball foul back, 1-2. Ryan got his first name because his parents thought Ryan Durer, the fastball pitcher who pitched when he was born, was a great ball player, so they named Ryan after Ryan Durer.
Faced Ryan During very late in his career with the Phillies. He was still throwing hard.
1-2 to count to Sandberg. And the curveball inside. He has a brother that was named Del after Del Ennis, who was a great player with the Philadelphia Phillies back in the 40s and early 50s. Here's the 2-2 pitch. Ball 3 and 3-2. So Sid showing signs of tiring.
Sid will get a chance to pitch to Grace if he gets Sandberg out. If he doesn't, I think we're going to see John Franco, Ralphie.
Well, Sid has earned the chance to pitch to Mark Grace. He has struck him out 3 times.
I know.
Here's a 3-2 pitch. And it's fouled back out of play.
The 108th pitch by Sid Fernandez.
Not a whole lot.
That's a lot for Sid.
For Sid, but not a whole lot.
Talk about Nolan Ryan. He usually gets up there in the 130, 140 range, sometimes even more.
He's been in the 200 range many times. The 3-2 pitch. And it's popped up and playable. Strawberry and right. So now Sid an out away from picking up a victory. And he'll be pitching to Mark Grace. Sid has struck him out 3 consecutive times, all on very, very bad swings. First time on a curve, the last 2 times on fastballs. The curveball he looked at for strike 3. The Mets are going modern. Forget those phones. Let's go directly into that bullpen with the walkie-talkie. And this one popped up and it's playable. This should be the ball game. Mackey Sasser there, and the Mets win it. Grace gets some grace as he's saved from his 4th strikeout as he pops up to the catcher, and the Mets win it by a score of 5-1. Sid Fernandez with his 2nd complete game of the year. It is his 8th victory. He's now 8-8. That was his 77th career victory against 53 losses. His 8th against the Cubs in 13 decisions. The losing pitcher, Greg Maddux, his record now 9-10. Maddux came in with a 5-game winning streak and he was knocked out of the box after 6 innings, giving up all 5 runs that the Mets had, allowing 8 base hits. And we'll be back with a recap right after these messages. Performance by Sid Fernandez, winning by a score of 5-1. He held the Cubs to just 3 hits, the first in the first inning, and then the next base hit coming after he had retired 20 consecutive batters, and the Mets hold on and win it by a score of 5-1. Sid, after 2 bad outings, really coming back and doing the job and getting the Mets off to a good start with the Cubs.
Well, we talked about the meeting that he had with Bud Harrelson and Mel Stottlemyre. Something good has come from it. A very positive day for the New York Mets, and a very positive evening for Sid Fernandez. In fact, Sid Fernandez is going to be our Texaco star of the game tonight for that tremendous performance. 6 strikeouts, just battled all the way in his 2nd complete game of the year.
And he'll be our Texaco star of the game, and we'll be back with more with our Bud play of the game and other things right after these messages. And some great defensive play for the New York Mets. Howard Johnson made 2 fantastic plays in the infield. Also Tom O'Malley, another spectacular play at third base. And our Bud play of the game is this play by Howard Johnson against Sean Dunston. A sure base hit until Johnson made this stop.
Just a tremendous play by Howard. Tremendous play by Magadan, scooping it up in the dirt for the Budweiser play of the day, Ralph.
That is it, and for that effort, Budweiser will donate $100 to Bacchus, a national collegiate on-campus student initiative working to prevent alcohol abuse. Budweiser and Bacchus, another example of how people working together can take alcohol abuse head on and make a difference. We'll be back with more.
System 3 Gasolines, Texaco, star of the American road, and by Manufacturers Hanover, where your money has power.
The Mets win 5-1 over the Cubs. And fans, after every game this season, points will be awarded to Mets pitchers for the AT&T Long Distance Award. Here's how it works. For every inning pitched, you get a point. We'll also add in the fractions. If a pitcher is credited with a complete game, he gets a bonus point. At the end of the season, the man on top wins the AT&T Long Distance Award, and $10,000 will be given to the charity of the player's choice.
And in Pittsburgh, we just got word that the Cardinals have added another run in the top of the 9th inning, and they're leading by a score of 7-3 over the Pittsburgh Pirates. If the Pirates lose that ball game, the Mets will go into first place by 1/2 game. Once again, the final score here tonight, the Mets 5 and Chicago 1. Remember, tonight at 11 o'clock, get the latest inside information on Buddy Harrelson's crew with Mets Inside Pitch. The Mets are back on SportsChannel Sunday afternoon at 3 p.m. when they close out this series against the Chicago Cubs. Coming up next on Extra Inning, Fran Healy's guest will be Howard Johnson. Now this is Ralph Kiner for Rusty Staub and Fran saying so long until Sunday, and thanks again for watching Mets baseball on SportsChannel.